Well, welcome to Module 1 for Psych 150. I'm going to give you a brief overview of the module. And all the modules kind of flow in the same way. So hopefully this will help with the modules as you go through them. As you can see, the top of the module starts with an outline of the chapter, and you can just kind of see some of the basic topics we're going to talk about. So the first chapter is kind of an introductory, what is psychology, different types, what's the history, um, and contemporary. So what are some of the key things? For example, in the history, you'll see that most of the people who were early in psychology were older white guys, and they researched older white guys, and so a lot of the research was based on older white guys. Contemporary psychology has got into cultural psychology and feminine psychology and lots of other things that open it up to many other parts of our population. So anyway, that's kind of just a brief overview. And the careers, there's different careers in psychology, some that are really unknown to most people, but interesting. Like forensic psychology it has to do with the legal aspect of it, and that one of the things they do is forensic psychologists are used to determine juries, and so they sit with lawyers and they do an identification of the jury. So anyway, that's one of the kind of more obscure ones. Then research, and why is research important? So this goes back to recently. We've had a lot of talk about fake news. A lot of it is inaccurate, and a lot of it is misleading. So we'll talk about research and different approaches to research and how to analyze findings. One of the key things: what's the difference between something that is a correlation or causation? Many times we get those mixed up. A correlation is just something they have similar effects. For example, um, uh, crime and ice cream. If you do a chart of that, you'll see that both crime and ice cream sales go up in the summer. Does that mean that ice cream causes crime or crime causes ice cream purchases? No, there's a confounding effect called heat, which means when it gets hotter, crime goes up. When it gets hotter, people eat more ice cream. Those are correlations, not causations. Something doesn't Ice cream doesn't cause more crime. And some of the ethics involved. There's some really horrific things in here. And part of it, interesting here too, part of it, there'll be some discussion of the Tuskegee experiments. And you can understand from from this basic research piece that um, many people of color, in this case, and certainly black men, are very skeptical of the government doing research and doing vaccines on people because of some of the horrific things that have happened to them in the past. And these are not made up items. These are legitimate items where the government injected the syphilis virus into black men without them even knowing it, without them knowing what they're being injected with, to follow the research. And many of them died because of it. And this happened just in the 1950s. This isn't like something that occurred back in the 1700s. It's really recent. And so generations that are around today have had people that have been involved in those kind of things. So you can understand their apprehension to being involved in. And it's also occurred in other other areas of people of color. Certainly Hispanics and Asians is another area that has been an issue. So anyway, that's kind of a little bit of that. These PowerPoints are a great summary for the chapters, and you can look at them, and they're created by the textbook. Um, Many times I will use those for lectures, and I may go back into those later if we need that help. So what you'll see is we'll have assignments due for assignments. All assignments, the crash course in reflective writing, will be due on February 4th, which is a Thursday night at 11 o'clock, just like we did in the past. So you can work those in your time, and it's 2 weeks. So most of our modules will be 2 weeks long, and they'll include 2 to 3 chapters. Okay, so kind of gives you an idea of how the flow goes. The crash courses are short videos, usually just a couple minutes, maybe 5 minutes at the most, and they talk about a topic. And what you'll do, and they're kind of this guy, and I'll just warn you ahead of time, he thinks he's pretty funny. He's really not. Occasionally he has something funny to say. But anyway, they're kind of interesting, and I like him because he does explain it in very real terms. It's not this big academic terms. He's very real about it. So he gives an intro, and then what you're to do is in the text box. Let me click on this so you can see that. You will do a text box isn't here, but you will do a reflection, fairly short. Again, text should be about 200 to 300 words. You can see the word count in there, so you'll see how much you have. So just on your thoughts about the video, and we will do this pretty much each module will have a series of these what are called crash course videos, and some will have 2, some will have 3, something like that, and you'll go through that. So the next one does the psychological research. So these are the 2 chapters, and you'll have a quick video about them, and he explains them a little bit better too. This is reflective writing. So this is who are you? Okay, so again, going back to maybe a little bit of our learning how we learn aspect, learning more about ourselves. Let me look at that. This is a kind of this is a writing assignment, and your job will be to follow the directions. Sorry, should I have this pulled up ahead of time? And you'll submit the assignment. This assignment will be done in Word and will be submitted in the Dropbox, which is as soon as this all opens up, I'll let you know. But basically, that's the flow. You'll generally have a couple of crash courses. You'll have the basic stuff at the top. Let me go back to where you'll have the basic information. You'll have an outline. You'll have some PowerPoints, which are great things to have out when you take your test, your quiz. And then you'll have your assignments that will be due on the Thursday. And Friday morning, you'll have a quiz that opens up, and you'll have the weekend until Sunday night to complete the quiz. The quiz is open note, open book, and you'll be able to do it from there. This course, as I mentioned before, it's designed for you to get an A. And so with let's say moderate to heavy activity, engagement, you should come out of the class with an A. If you don't, you've got no one to blame but yourself, because you maybe missed assignments, you didn't have the stuff open. I've had some people take the test, take the quiz in like 30 minutes, and they get a 70. You had an open note, open book. There's no reason you shouldn't take a little bit of time. You've got 3 days to do it. Take some time, set aside some time, and you can do the quiz. You can do part of it, just leave it there and don't close it, don't submit it. Do part of it, and then you can come back to it later. So you can do the ones you know and come back and research the ones you don't know and come back to it later. So anyway, that's my suggestion. That's my soapbox thing. So so this is what we're call kind of our labs, what they're writing things. Again, should be about 250 words in length and should be double spaced. Assignments by Moodle on the due date. Okay, so kind of basic stuff will be in there. Who are you? Relate your answers to at least one of the psychological current perspectives. So go back into the different aspects of primarily chapter 1, and you'll look at these different types of psychologists, and what you'll do is you'll talk about yourself in reference to those types. So if you identify humanistic or cognitive or behavioral or psychodynamic, you can go back and do that, and then you'll submit that assignment into Word, again double spaced. Do the heading as you would in MLA, which is your name, my name, course name, and the date. Okay, and that you'll do all the way through that. Okay, and then so the rubric. Let me show you the rubric. And these will be pretty much the same on every one of the modules. Some will be more difficult in terms of content, and others. This one was pretty simple. It's about getting the basics down and how you do these things. What's opening up? Yeah, there we go. So here is so if you want to get something in the A, okay, you'll be over in here, okay, and you'll have some sense of how this goes. So this is on all of them. This is kind of a generic rubric for all of the assignments we have. Basically, if you and I would give examples. If you give examples, it allows me to know that you understand when your example is correctly used. Okay, and everyone, examples is part of the exemplary, very much so. So you can go by that rubric. Okay, So let me go back to here. So that's it, and you'll turn it into this Dropbox. Just FYI, when you see this little hand, that means it's an assignment to be turned in, okay, like you're handing something in. These are documents, okay? When you go down here, these are what are called pages. So there's usually a link on those, and these are internet-based links, okay? I also want to show you the resources. There's nothing in this that you have to look at, okay? There's some interesting things. Here's the Stanford, here's the Tuskegee syphilis experiment. You can look at that, it's kind of interesting. The Milgram obedience study. So you understand why these people attack the Capitol. There's a great example in here about people who do things they're told to do just because they're told to do it. The Stanford prison experiment will talk about how people use authority and they develop into their role. So this is where a lot of maybe the police abuse towards colored people, people of color, are brought forward because of this type of thing. And you can kind of see, here's some of the different psychologies, and these three I think are the most interesting that we have here. Here's some unethical human experiments that actually took place. Most of these are done by our government, and this talks about that idea of the Tuskegee syphilis, but it also talks about some others that are there too. These are experiments on real people that occurred before maybe the 1960s, which is when they were all kind of outlawed. And then Genie the Wild Child is another one. This is a example of a young child who was locked in a room in complete darkness until she was about 12. The daytime strapped to a potty chair, and nighttime put in a cage like a dog crate, and never spoke, whatever. And this is about language acquisition. We'll talk more about that later, but that's another thing that comes out. So anyway, that's basically the flow. Here is you'll have your chapter outlines, which will tell you some basic information. These are good summaries, your PowerPoint slides. You'll generally the Thursday before your quiz, all your assignments will be due. You have a few crash courses, okay, and then you'll have an assignment, some kind of a written assignment, and then you'll have videos that help support what you're doing, or you can watch. As you see, they're all fairly short. This is Stanford's the longest one, but that's interesting. I think just when you start watching it, you'll want to see it. And then you have a quiz, and the quiz will open up on February 5th, and you'll have until Sunday night to complete it, Sunday night at 11. Okay, so that's how it goes, and that's your normal flow for your module. Okay, so I hope it goes well for you. If you have any questions, please let me know, and I'll have some more stuff for you later.